Welcome back with Black Minds Unspoken, where we talk about the things people are thinking but afraid to say in public. So today's topic is why don't Black Americans or African Americans hate being African? Even though they have the features of African, they have the voice of African, they have the skin complexion of African, they got everything that will make them African, but they hate anything that has to do with Africa. So before I go in more details, let's go ahead and hear what this podcaster with Godfrey has to say, and then I'll give you my reaction. But we need to know why Black Americans hate being African. So let's see what they have to say, and I'll tell you whether or not I'm in agreement with them. Let's check it out.
My dad said, "You guys are all African." No, I'm not. I got
I'm
Indian
Indian
in my
in
blood.
me.
I'm Cree. I like anything to be anything but African. And I didn't know it then, but as I, think about that, I'm going, oh wow, it's just anything to disconnect. Fast forward to now, you're seeing the FBA conversation and the
ADOS.
ADOS
It's
conversation.
like,
It's like, man, it just takes me back
yeah.
to the idea that at the root of it, it is something wrong with being African, right? Like the
But
only
that's
time
that's propaganda too.
yeah,
Now that's because that made us feel weird.
yeah,
Because I remember, you'd be like, I'm African, but I'm Black
right,
American. Because you were embarrassed.
right.
It was embarrassing, and I'm like, why am I kind of embarrassed by this? Because of the images they show purposely. They show the Black American in Nigeria as the thug, and that's not the truth.
Right.
When you really look at it, most Black people are educated as hell. Just studying a lot of Black history in college, I was super militant.
Right.
I brought Stokely Carmichael to my college. Francis Cress Welsing I hung out with. Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's still in the Senate. We brought these people to our school, Sister Soldier, all of them. And I was educated by some of the coldest. I studied Dr. Henry Clark, yo, what's his name? Ben Yohanan. And I would go to Savior's Day. I'm in Chicago, so I'd go to South
up?
Side to go
Yeah.
see the minister. You know what I'm saying? So I was really James Baldwin, I read everything.
Yeah.
And then yet you got people saying you're a
Right.
I go, huh? I was Chicago police. I get harassed by cops, called the N-word in school.
Here's what I gotta say about that, right? So the reality is this, okay? The reason Black Americans or African Americans don't like being African, it has to do with, like you just said, the images that you see on television. And the thing is, he said a lot of African Americans are educated. That's actually wrong. Majority of Black Americans are not reading above a ninth grade level. Many of them are not well educated because education is not something that is cherished in the Black American community. It used to be back in the 80s. It used to be back in the 50s and 60s, especially during segregation. Now it's not. Because we're trying to do something about it where he's trying to showcase how Black people should be with the Cosby Show, trying to give a positive image of Black Americans and education and everything. But now, if you look now, in the past, I say 20, 30 years, it's been the complete opposite since the Cosby Show, or even since Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where education is not something that is cherished or admired. It's something that is considered you not to be cool. And the fact that they're not well educated, Black Americans and or African Americans are not well educated. That's how you get the whole FBA and many other synonym they try and create where they can separate us from each other. In reality, the FBA is no different than MAGA. It's the same thing, but on the black side. That's really what it is. And the reality behind this whole thing with FBA not wanting to be African, it has to do with the fact that when people feel like they are losing, when people feel it's like somebody else is coming over, taking over the land where they're not doing as well, they want to separate them. They want to get them go back to your country. That's the reality of it. And that's how the whole MAGA came about. They feel as though other people are coming to the country, taking over, they're doing better than they are, and hey, I want these people removed. In reality, they got more, they have the same right. They have, and in reality, the people of this land of America tend to have a lot more opportunity than the people who comes. Because the people who comes, unless they are coming from a English-speaking country, they have to learn the language, and then they have to apply and understand the culture and then apply everything so they can move ahead. So they have more, a lot of perseverance they have to go through in order for them to even achieve to the level of the people who already live here, or above the people who already live there, especially if they're not coming from an English-speaking country. So the idea that you not want to be African is baffling because school do not teach them about African history and the imaging. That's the reality. That's why everybody want to be closer to white, not just Black Americans or African Americans or Black people in general. That's the whole world. The closer you are to white, the more pretty you are, the more beautiful you seem. That's why light skin colorism is such a big thing in the Black community. So let's see what else he has to say. Because one last thing, what he just stated makes sense. Every books he read, all the people he named, all these are people you have to be educated, read on them to fully comprehend their message. And guess what? Majority of people in the Black community do not. So
I
It
mean,
goes back
it's
to the book Carter Woodson, like
Carter G.
miseducation.
Woodson, yeah.
Carter G. Woodson, miseducation of the Negro, and I think miseducating us on one end. When I say here on the here in the States, and then even in Africa, because they're not teaching about Harriet Tubman. I see you got the piece, and that's not a core focal point, right? And so there's two different worlds we're living in, and then when we do call crossover and then we translate, there's a lack of grace that I see on both sides, and we'll get into some of these other topics as
Certainly.
well. That but yeah, what are your thoughts on that? And
So-
how do we bring and bridge and unify the diaspora?
Big questions, but legitimately to me, some of the central questions we should be asking ourselves right now. I'll say a couple of things. Number one is I think that I think there's a reason why you're seeing that happen more now than ever before. First of all, anti-blackness has become a worldwide tradition.
Yes.
It's not even, it's no longer structural. There's a cultural tradition of anti-blackness. Most cultures, even like, cultures that have themselves been persecuted, have a word.
No doubt.
They have a word to say in their culture.
That's right.
They have a word to say. Now, particularly, it's been my understanding that when they use that word, a lot of times that word is focused at the Black American.
No. Yep.
A lot of times, not all the time, right? But a lot of times there's a specific burden sometimes, at least that I feel as a Black American, and that's because my culture is to be harvested and not to be invested into. So my culture can be harvested by anyone. It can be harvested as a Black American by other Black people from around the world. But there's not an investment that has to be made into it. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like you can harvest my culture. You can dress or act or behave as I behave, and then go and do something completely else that I can't access. You see what I'm saying? Like I can't do the things that you would do as a Nigerian or as a Jamaican or anything like that. Those are you guys' culture. And in order for
But why wouldn't you? Like, but I push back on that. Absolutely, you could.
Well, I'm not saying that I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm saying that
I
like,
get where you're coming from. No.
I'm not saying that I couldn't. I'm saying that
It's like
Oh, that
free-
is
it's
foreign.
like-
You're saying that it's
but
foreign.
Black American culture is like free domain.
it's free.
It's like free domain. There's no protection over it.
Because
this is why people they are talking above each other. Here's what a lot of people fail to realize. Okay, all that stuff, the Black American culture, all that has to do with capitalism because America is the #1 pure capitalistic society. So what they did is take the Black American culture, which is prior to America becoming the hegemony that it is. The Black American culture was only central to the United States. So therefore, white people would partake in it, enjoy the music, at the same time not allowing Black people to eat in the same restaurant, not allowing Black people to sleep in the same hotel, and so on and so forth, right? However, as the country become a world power, a superpower, it also export the culture. So as a result, Black Americans do not have control over that culture because pure capitalism is whoever has the money, they take who has the money, they create this corporation, and then they promote because the goal is to sell as much of a product or influence as you can. So therefore, Black American culture never was their culture as soon as America became a world power because anything you can do, just similar to the burger, right? Similar to the fries. It's the same thing. The culture is taken abroad and advertised to the point where Black Americans who create the culture that is cool and so on and so forth do not have no rights over it. So they can't control it. And that's the reality of it all. And that's why we are at that point where he's stating that, hey, you can harvest my culture, but you will not invest into it. Yet he can do the same when it comes to Nigerian culture. Well, he cannot, for the simple fact that Nigerian culture is more reserved, and also Nigerian culture is not really a global culture because they don't have the influence that the United States of America has. We a lot of times they don't add that into the equation, and that plays a big factor.
And so what you see a lot of times is people, in my opinion, in a way that's not always the most nutritious way, try to establish some cultural protection on what it means to be Black American. Saying that we have our own culture, that we've established, our own thing that we've established, and that is also sacred to us. Now, what I don't think is that there should be anything that happens to where we get out of cultural sharing as Black people. Black was co-opted by Black people. It was invented by somebody else, but co-opted by Black people so that we could be strong. So that Black power, solidarity,
Yes.
Pan-Africanism, all of that stuff so that we could be stronger and so that we could establish a set of ethics and values that allow us to care about one another. But I think it's also important for us to remember, and I can't get into specifically the feelings and experiences of you guys and some of the things you might have experienced from Black Americans, some of the differences that might go on even on the continent or in the diaspora, right? And I also shouldn't try. What I should try to do is understand that we are facing things in this world that don't know that you're different than me, that don't understand that there's anything different.
Right.
And those things and the tradition that we establish trying to fight them have to be together. But that doesn't mean, this is the way I look at the diaspora.
Before we continue, so what he says makes a lot of sense. We need to really, yes, I think Black Americans have their own culture. They not that they should separate it if they could, but they don't have control over the culture, so it's kind of difficult because it's pure capitalism. However, I do believe we need to. The only way we as Black people will be respected in the United States or globally is if we come together. Because at the end of the day, we are not minorities. We are majorities. By 2030, I believe, if not 2100, Black people are going to be the 40% of the world population, right? So we need the only way, they even said that in the Haitian flag, it says l'union fait la force. It's like by us coming together, we are stronger. In order for us to be powerful, similar to the Million Man March, similar to segregation, in order for Black people to break segregation, they had to come together in order for them to do that, even though it wasn't not at their advantage, but they didn't know that till later. That's the same thing we have to do with Black Americans and the African diaspora. We need to come together. We're all Africans at the end of the day because we all look alike. We all sounds the same and we all have the same features. There's no such thing as, hey, I'm not Black or I'm not African. I'm not, no, you all African. You just have a different culture for the simple fact that you've been here for a long period of time without the connection to Africa. At the end of the day, we're all the same people. And we have to embrace that. Yes, you still have your own culture that you have established for 400-500 years. That's yours, right? But at the same time, we need to come together because with strength, we'll be more powerful and get more respect. So
I think the best way to do it is like the best way to go about this is how do we talk about each other when the other person is not in the room? Like, how do I talk about my Nigerian brothers, my Jamaican brothers, my brothers from the islands, my brothers from South America when they're not around? Do I talk about them as if they are me? Or do I seek to set cultural limits and exclusions from them?
So when you talk about what's being said in conversations behind closed doors, I can tell you, whenever I've been to any of the countries I've been to in Africa, I've been to 8 countries, I still want to go to all 54. Bring me to America. America, oh, America. America. There's this reverence because of what is marketed to Africa about America.
Yeah, certainly.
It's like there's this, oh man. But on the other side, it is like, oh, you African? I can't tell. I mean, all the way till when I was, hold on, all the way till when I
bro,
was
that's not true.
in the locker room. And so here's the thing. Because I played football, I had a sample size I think was just a little different. I'm in a locker room with 100 dudes from all over the United States, right? So you get a sample, and I've been through multiple teams, right? And shut up, man. You from Africa, man. Shut up, man. You from Africa. So I got dismissed.
We get dismissed all
because
the time.
I was African.
Shut up, African.
Yes, they do that. That does happen. Just because you're from Africa, you're dismissed. Your opinion don't matter. As if you're no longer a human being. You don't have the similar experience as they have here in America. And that's why I said we need to come together, because the reality is like dire, because the way we are segregated and the whole FBA and other things that are being created, separating is only gonna make us weak. Because if you look at Europe, a good example, when they controlled the Americas, where they were fighting amongst each other, well, who's gonna take this land and that land so they can take their resources and everything. They were fighting amongst each other, similar with the Italian mob, fighting amongst each other. However, what they realize is by us coming together, we can have more power, less fight, less war, and take more resources. And that's the same thing we gotta do. Less war, less fighting, and come together so we can be a stronger as a nation. All right?
Hey, African.
And
Yo,
so
shut
what
up,
I
African.
learned, and what I learned
I got mocked all the
in
time.
elementary, from elementary, I learned that if I became more ridiculous, I took the heat off of, you can step on my, and I don't feel pain. I flew in on a helicopter to school. I'm like, what? You poor like us. What are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
I did anything so I could take the heat off of me. It was constant. I mean, when they would say, they would go through the names and go, whatever, the last name I knew, oh boy, here my name come on. There's a Bajabi, me. I try to hurry up and beat it to the
Yeah.
punch. So the class wouldn't erupt into
They
laughter.
did it so when you're going down the name of students. Godfrey
Yeah.
That's me. Like Dan Chima. Hey, well,
New drop. It's in 154.
That's it.